Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our My Career in Family Office webinar this afternoon, which is jointly hosted by FOAHK Hong Kong and FSDC. FOAHK Hong Kong is a family office Hong Kong industry association established in November 2020. I must thank FOAHK Hong Kong and 6 of its member firms for offering exciting internship opportunities to our students this summer. Before I introduce our speakers, I want to set the scene for this discussion. So Hong Kong has always been a major asset and wealth management hub in the region. The family office segment has been expanding rapidly in the past couple of years, thanks to the phenomenal wealth creation in the region, especially mainland China. To give our audience some macro perspective on the industry landscape, I would like to quote a few observations from the Asia-Pacific edition of the 2021 Global Family Office Report, published by the renowned research group Camden Wealth in collaboration with the Raffles Family Office, which is a founding member of FOAHK Hong Kong. Well, it's very interesting to know that 77% of the family office in the region do plan to invest more back in the region, much higher than the global average of 54%. And also 29% of the regional family offices have recorded significant wealth increase over the last year, surpassing the global average of 21%. Also, 26% of the APAC family offices significantly increased their assets under management versus the global average of just 18%. Last but not least, nearly half of the family offices in the region, 45% to be exact, have onshore investment in mainland China. That's where Hong Kong, being a unique super connector, has an advantage. On that note, I want to first of all introduce one of our speakers, Grant. Well, before co-founding Wisdom Family Office to serve ultra high net worth and family office clients in Asia, you held various senior management positions at major private banks. I'm interested to know why you decided to set up your firm. And please also share with us the business scope of Wisdom Family Office. Grant, please.
Thank you, King. Yeah, I have lots of people who actually asked me the same questions. Before I start my family office business, I was working for 15 years with 2 major private banks in the market and served mainly for the ultra high net worth clients. I think there are a few reasons why I decided to work in a family office. For ultra high net worth clients, they request more and more professional solutions for their personal, family, next generations, or their business. Ultra high net worth bankers is more like a coordinator to spend the time, link up all the professional parties to solve clients' needs. However, I think many people know that the last 15 years, regulations changing and tightening. This kind of clients' demands is already behind one bank that can provide the total solutions. So because of the limitation of one bank, I discussed with my clients, was facing a challenging of continue looking for new clients to meet banks' KPI, or the number of clients increase will lead to reduce the quality of my service. So I discussed with my clients, should I become the family officer to help them look after all their needs? And I think just like King said, more and more family offices actually set up these days, the amount of Hong Kong and Singapore. And for family office, some of the private banks also have the family office teams, which provide a better service and some unique products. There are some internal statistics also shows that private banks, in average, 15% of assets actually managed by the family offices. So consider Hong Kong, the total wealth management assets run about $4 trillion of US dollars. I think it's not just because my personal career. I think this is a business. So there was 8 years ago. So when I start my family office career, I find that a lot of my ex-colleagues who naturally have the needs to work for family office. I always give examples. Family office is more like a family clinic. The reason we go to clinic is to meet the doctor is because we trust the doctor, and the doctor knew my family histories. We don't need to again and again to tell the doctor in hospital what's the history of my past. So 8 years later, Wisdom become a full function of multi-family office. Our core is still helping our clients for asset management. Currently, our managed portfolio is more than $5 billion US. But we still extend the full service for clients like a concept, trust, funds, tax plannings. In Wisdom, our goal is to our clients to have a better client experience by using our online and offline service. And given our scale and the size, we will continue to build the infrastructure for clients to find a better solution for their family needs.
Thank you, Grant. Interesting analogy. I'll come back to you and try and find out more about the functions of family offices. But Jessica, may I turn to you now? You are a serial entrepreneur. You first co-founded EXS Capital Asia in Hong Kong back in 2008 and have since involved in several mergers to create Leo Wealth. Could you please tell us more about your exciting career journey and also the business coverage of Leo Wealth?
Thank you, King. When I first started in financial services, I was focused predominantly on the securities and the asset management aspects of that business. But we discovered very quickly in working with families and clients that investment returns, investment selection, traditional asset management was often not their first priority. It often wasn't their second or their third. What we found is that most families needed a holistic approach to their overall family wealth management and needed a comprehensive range of services that went well beyond the traditional investment landscape. And often went well beyond what any one financial institution might be able to provide. So when I left the firm I was working for in Tokyo at the end of 2007, we got our first SFC license in early 2008. That business was really focused on two premises. The first being that most families and individuals were best served by having a comprehensive, tailored range of services, that providing investment solutions in isolation wasn't the way to best serve those families. We also focused and continue to focus on what we refer to as global citizens or international and cross-border families. Where our experience was these families have even more complex issues to solve around tax and trust, multi-generational planning, multi-currency planning, multiple regulatory frameworks. But at the same time, those cross-border families had fewer choices in the range of services and support. Our business in particular focuses on supporting US citizens, green card holders, and people with US connections. And many of the private banks in Asia wouldn't even take those clients. We still today get referrals and introductions from banks that do not want to deal with people who have US connections. But we found those clients needed the range of services, exactly what Grant was talking about, the full suite of personalized services that one bank or one institution could not deliver. And so Excess Capital was focused on serving those cross-border clients, those complex families. We then took that business and merged it with another multifamily office in 2016, and then merged with a large multifamily office group in New York last July to create Leo Wealth. And some of the additional capabilities that made that merger so powerful were bringing in-house some of the estate planning capabilities that we have in that New York office, and including a US tax practice, so that we're now able to provide the tax preparation as an additional service that we can bring in-house to those complex families that have US connections. And so the focus for us, and if we look forward, we see more and more families becoming more global, becoming more international in their assets, in their interests, in their family members' locations, in the relevance of multi-generational planning. And so we believe most clients are going to continue to be better served with a family office that is flexible, is focused on their multiple needs, and is able to cater to them in a wide variety of jurisdictions using a wide variety of strategies and solutions.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Yeah, just want to go back to your point. I think you brought up an important issue that's because Americans have a lot of tax consideration. That's why a lot of banks, right, in Hong Kong don't serve them well. So you have a niche business. So Jim, now I want to turn to you. You've been the CEO of Topaz Financial Group for a decade now, and you have recently also set up a dedicated family office unit within your group. I understand you started your wealth management career at HSBC brokerage, and instead of a more traditional private banking route. So do let us know more about the motivation behind your career move and also the service offerings of Topaz Family Office.
Sure, King. Thanks for having me. And actually, that reminds me, Topaz is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. And when I'm asked, about my motivation to brings me to this industry, that I would say is about my my desire to want to grow with the families. That's my underlying reason to propel me all these years to come into this industry. And then back in those days, when last job, I worked in HSBC broking, as you've mentioned, as a broker. Actually, I tried to strive to be a trader as well. I want to trade on behalf of the banks. And then luckily, in those days, I was given a group of clients to handle some high net worth clients. And then you have no idea any of them will belong to any family, because in those years, not much about this kind of concept, at least that popular in Asia, especially even in Hong Kong. And also, unluckily me is that in those years, I'm not that easy to get access to any material resources like today. If now we're attending in a webinar, some other internship available offering by the family office. But back in those days, I couldn't get access to those things. Then I start from a bank. I want to work as a just genuinely trade on behalf of my group of clients. And then I keep on working and then doing quite well. And I develop my own trading methodology as well as some algorithm. And I start to cultivate more kind of big data issue. And in these years, it's more hot and popular. And I've been noticed by a group of clients that I can get them some great performance in terms of the returns, in terms of some lesser drawdown, something like that. And then I was even being asked by them that in those years, age of my age, working in the banks. Is it you're from any of the families, your kids, second generations from? I say, no, I hope I would be somebody, but in fact, I'm not. And I also thought to myself that can I also be somebody instead? Even I can create my fate. So that is why that isn't cool for me to join this family office industry. And then that explains a little bit more that one of the clients that I served well, and then he approached me, and then we start this single family office from scratch. Let me recall a little bit. At that moment, I still remember that clients even didn't know much about family office. He just had the concept clearly, want me to help him to safeguard and gatekeep all the wealth, as well as to propel for generations, but have rough idea about family offices. And then that comes to the description of Topaz. In fact, just as Jessica, we try to provide holistic solutions to all of our family clients throughout the years. But instead of trying to put it that long list to explain right now, I'll just put 3 highlights that are Topaz, which is our strength. Being the first and foremost, we provide bespoke wealth management solution to help our clients to preserve as well as to grow. Especially this is a toughest question, among the investment manager these years after the post-tsunami crisis, as we might aware, exceptionally low interest rate era, as well as now we're facing some inflation is coming to us. So it's exceptionally difficult for us to on one hand, to balance the wealth to preserve it. On the other hand, we need to grow it. And then it isn't simply a science. It's really something, a art in between. And then Topaz has done quite well on this part. And let me give you a quick example about that. 1 year ago, actually it's roughly more than a year ago, we've done an analysis on behalf of our clients who is heavily invested in some commodities, which means that his line of business is getting involved in crude oil. And we've done a great job to suggest him that something we're not buying by the textbook. We simply want to know deep down, and then we study more about the inventory as well as transaction costs. And then we've given a good advice to him that try to do some more position hedging in order to stem out his risk from that negative crude oil price territory. So this is a good example on that. And the second one, what we do is we provide succession planning service, which is not simply provide, it's a perfect execution of that. As a owner, maybe we can interchangeably use the term owner, patient, matriarch, or simply the entrepreneur or the first generation. He or she might have the chance to encounter how to allocate more fairly among their kinship, among their spouse, children, descendants, as well as some in-laws might also come to play a role inside that family tree or different branches. Topaz has played a good role that we spend much of our time to discuss and know deep about the family. And then we can being the gatekeeper to help him or her to allocate or to suggest the ways to, in case there's some other conflicts will comes out later. And then being the third one, which we think also is growing importance in terms of we grow with our family in terms of technological advancement. How do we do that? Simply, we have developed a team, as I've mentioned in the early beginning in my first part, regarding our trading perseverance. All the methodologies we develop, all the big data has been a great asset to our families. Even we've been approached by some of our families to assist them to set up their own algorithm trading team as well inside their own single family office. So that is why Topaz is doing everything in terms of the technology, because we think now technology already revolutionized the whole world, the ever-changing world, as well as family office has to be in the forefront to face about this kind of challenge. So that is why in terms of that kind of automation technology movement, we help the families to build it up, as well as we bring in some private equity in terms of new economy and this kind of disruption investment project. Then perhaps I better stop it here, and then maybe we can let the discussion flow and then later on share more. Thank you, King.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, that's great introduction from our three speakers. So before we talk, about family office in more detail, because that's what the internship opportunities are about. You are welcome to ask any questions that you'd like in the chat box. Please do type in your question, and then we'll try to address them throughout the webinar. Now, coming back to family office, we have been mentioning the term quite a bit now. So Jessica, can you please explain to our audience what a family office is exactly? And are there different types of family offices out there?
Thank you, King. What distinguishes a family office from other types of financial services businesses, the key word is family. So there is a strong financial services component to what most family offices do, but the key piece that makes any family office successful is its ability to focus in a comprehensive way on all of the needs of one or more families. While investments are often the first thing that people think about, there are many other important components. It is not adequate for high net worth and ultra high net worth families simply to focus on their investments. They need comprehensive professional guidance around tax, estate planning, real estate, legacy planning, asset protection, and a variety of other areas. And so a family office business is uniquely positioned to function as a fiduciary for those families. It is the responsibility of any family office to put the family's interests first and to source resources from any segment, any financial institution, other community resources, whatever the family needs. And that ability to be flexible to use multiple providers to focus solely on what is going to bring the best comprehensive outcome for families is really what make those family office businesses unique. Broadly, family offices fall into two categories. You have single family offices, which, as the name implies, are a business that is focused on the needs of only one family. Now, there may be multi-generations of those families, multiple children, their families, grandchildren, their families, but it is one group of related parties, their wealth, and how they are going to manage that on behalf of the family. Those businesses are not necessarily regulated, and often family members are heavily involved in the management and operations of those businesses because they focus on one family. A multi-family office, again, as the name implies, is more of a structured business. So it takes all of the principles of a single family office and organizes them in a professional way and manages them as a business to serve multiple families. Now, the many multifamily offices started as a single family office and were successful in meeting the needs of their own family. And as a result, other families came to them and said, can you help me in the same way that you've organized your own family? And so many multifamily offices are born from the success of one family. There are also many multifamily offices that come from professionals like the people speaking today who were involved in private banking, in other aspects of wealth management, who had roles serving clients and identified that those institutional ways of serving clients were not adequate. And therefore they created their own businesses to serve the needs of families in that holistic way, and to serve multiple families. There's further variation depending on the industry of the family may be working in, the geographic locations, nationality, and assets. But the key piece about working in a family office industry is that fiduciary focus on taking care of the families.
Thank you. That's a very clear explanation, Jessica. So Grant, going back to what you just said earlier, family office of other general functions. Can you expand a bit more on that?
Sure. Okay, I believe of the families, they have their own set of functions. Just like Jessica says, but I will say, okay, I think in generally the family office should including, I think number one, they should have a general management or business administration teams to running a family. Okay, running a family is just actually like running a company. How to manage and operate a company under the risk control and the P&L justified, sometimes very critical. So you may hear that some of the multi-family or single family office, they also provide some like a share office service, which helps some young family office to incubate them or have some guidelines for them to run the family office. Okay, number two, definitely the family office have the investment management teams, but they make it the mandates from different areas, such as like a primary markets for some direct deals, investments, VCP levels, or the secondary markets, so talk about the portfolio management, or some other investments, such as like a traditional like arts, properties, or some new asset class like digital assets. And also sometimes these days, set up investment structures is also very important for families to decide what kind of investment structure they should looking for for the investments. So we see Hong Kong actually offer a lot of different new structures like LPF or recently the SPAC, and which is actually favor for the family office. Think about the SPAC structures. As a leading investors, we have the backgrounds or professional experience can help other like a family office to syndicate the investments together. So I think this is one of the typical structure which is actually favored for the family office. Now, not only that, but like a family trust or insurance governances, also the tax plannings and legal advice, corporate advice and the financing, sometimes they actually also have a strong demand from the family office. And then, and also the philanthropy service. I think these days we talk about like ESGs or previous, some people said foundations, educations is actually all related to family offices. So in general, I give you a general guidelines for our audiences for some pictures of what family office normally have. But each functions can be a very big topic, of course, and we can talk about for whole days for each function. A family office should have at least a few core functions, which I have just mentioned, and the rest of can co-work with other professionals in the markets.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. Actually, family office is quite a complex industry, right? And then I want to turn to Jim. We've learned a lot about the nature and requirements of family offices from Jessica and Grant. So what are the general participants in this ecosystem? Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, King. Well, this is a great topic. I mean, in terms of the ecosystem, it's a broad concept. To me, just as Jessica has outlined, there's single family office, multiple family office, and then Grant has also mentioned about different functionality of a family office can provide. In fact, I would rather try to narrow it down, I mean, the ecosystem rather, because if in a broader sense, ecosystem basically might involve everyone, I would say, simply. Why I say so is because I would adopt another approach to describe this ecosystem. First, we have single family office. Usually there's a owner who has already got a great fortune and then somehow some idea in his mind and then want to start from scratch. And then perhaps the most important person who is his confidant or someone he knows by years, and then will set aside a fortune for him to take care of, which is the gatekeeper. So this person might be the just simply the investment manager of this owner, and then that's starts from scratch. Usually we see many single family office just only have one to several people only. It's all because they might wear different hats on behalf of the family office. And then in contrast to this setup, there's multiple family office, and also some single family also might also either use their in-house function as well as outsource part of their function to some outside providers. Just like we have private bankers, we have banking, fiduciary service, tax advisor, legal advisor. We don't require every single family office to build in everything in their own. So I'll say, to reply this question simply, the general participants, especially today, we have all the audience from different school and university. You might be more care about, be aware of the whole situation. It's start from beginning is the investment side. It's usually the user setup of this ecosystem. And then starting from this ecosystem, the core, and we'll see the other peripheral, just as I've mentioned, different legal advisor, accountants, taking care of the tax, estate planning, succession planning, all kinds of things. I hope this will answer King's question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. Now, that leads on to the next exciting topic. That is, now we all are eagerly waiting to hear more about the excellent training opportunities offered by the FOA Hong Kong 2022 Summer Internship Program. We're getting quite a few questions from the students. So let's go through some of those before we come back to other general questions. So I've got this one interesting question. So what should an intern expect to experience during the FOA Hong Kong internship? So maybe I ask Grant to answer that.
Okay, sure.
What should an intern expect to experience during the FOA Hong Kong summer internship?
Okay, for the internship, actually, this is actually the 4th year that our company is running the internship programs. But this is the first time that we run together with the FOAHK. So personally, I will share with all the audience that few things I think you should experience when you have the internship with FOAHK or the member of the FOAHK. First of all, I think it's really a good opportunity for our intern candidates to find your love and the interest and I think obviously that you can see that we have a lot of the chance to work with all the financial industries members, such as like a private banks or investment banks. And actually, it helps to create a holistic view and understand more of each bank's natures, strengths, and products in the markets. Because even the private banks, some of them are strong in investment banks, and some of them are strong in the commercial or retail banks. So through the 8 years of programs, you actually have the chance to see or overlook the preview of the financial industry markets. So for my previous years interns, when they really decide that they're going to go to work for next year, so we also help them to write the recommendation letters for them. So if you really want to enter the financial markets. Okay, so the first thing is find your love and interest. And that's the thing. Second thing is I think is connect the dots to become your own networks. As we say, the family office, our internship program will give our interns the chance to see other industries, such as like the direct investment, fintech, digital assets. We encourage to find a company which you may interest about during the 8 weeks. Okay, and you may have you may also have your friends and schoolmates who also with other professional firms. Family office is a core industry which can link with other industry together. And I can tell you people love to talk to you when you're back to work with the family office and the associations. So I think this is a good chance to create your own networks for all our internship. And number 3, I think it's a good experience that you can work with the employer or the founder of the companies. I think a chance to learn from the owner of the company is really real. If you work with the family office, you have a very high chance to work with the employer of the company. I think I always tell to the young audience that in your age or generations, it's a high probability you will set up your own companies. So don't just work as a financial institution or a family office. Just to think about your work with a companies. How you learn from a companies is actually very, very important experience to see an owner have a better visions and also have making decisions and how to drive the company to work. I think this is the 3 key things they probably can experience during their internship programs.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. I've got another question. Maybe I'll ask Jim this time because it's asking, how a college student can prepare themselves, for the family office industry. But given you're, homegrown graduate and a successful senior executive, so perhaps you can share your perspective with the students. So how do they prepare themselves?
Thank you, King. Just as you said, I was born and bred in Hong Kong, and then I didn't go abroad to study further my study. And in fact, I choose to directly jump into the banking industry in the first place. And so my suggestions to my fellow students would be very first, to keep on, of course, your good work at your each of your subjects. Maybe you are studying now in accounting, finance. Please keep up your good work, because family office industry has been also competitive. Now, just a great battle between family office as well as a different financial sector. So that is to say, if you are strong in your academic background with your qualifications, some of credentials, that will be a great weapon for you to secure a ticket inside this area. And then the second suggestions, I would say, is you better to attend more of these kinds of webinar, of this kind, and then to fetch as much as possible of the resources that you know about family office industry, because this is an industry that with some used to be mysterious to students. Family office tends not to set up for the sake of showing off to let someone else know about them. So that is that makes even harder for the students to know about family office. So I urge you, or if you would like to secure a ticket, this area, you better to attend more, perhaps some other webinar as well. And then the third one I would suggest is to sharpen your, actually not simply sharpen, but to know about more like your entrepreneurial skill, as well as to train up your all kinds of way to have your teamwork with the other parties. It's all because a family office or a multi-family office is another miniature of a multi-MNC or banks. So I have also mentioned that some single family office have different, same person with different hats. That is to say, you have to be more vibrant to know about how to interact with different students. So last but not least, I would rather suggest you all keep on looking about our program as well as to attend one of our internship in order to know about more. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I've got another interesting question. I really like this group because they're very active. I've got a lot of questions. So Jessica, this one's for you. So how do you balance between business growth and family legacy when it comes to making investment decisions?
Thank you, King. I think first and foremost, one of the principles that we have always followed in growing and running our business is that by taking care of the individual needs of families and putting their needs first, naturally your business will grow. Most of our new clients come through referrals, through friends and families of our existing families. And by focusing first and foremost on what does each individual family need, ultimately you will end up with successful business growth. From an investment decision-making perspective, that's even more critical. You may have families who have very similar goals, very similar demographics, but their investment needs may still be quite different. It's important as a family office business, you are not a private bank, you are not a financial institution, you are not a product distributor. You are there to serve the needs of those families. And that means before you make investment recommendations, before you build portfolios, you have to invest the time in getting to know your family, getting to know their situation, evaluate all aspects of their family and their planning. We often tell people that building the investment portfolio and selecting the right mix of investments is the easiest part of the work a family office does. The hard work is ensuring that those decisions, those investments fit into the overall framework and needs of your family. But if you've been a fiduciary, if you've put your family's needs first and you remain in dialogue with them and adapt as their needs change, you will be successful as an enterprise.
Very good. Yeah. I've got another quick question. So what most important qualities that you look for in an intern? So any one of you wants to take this one? Or all three of you want to give some tips?
What
are the most important qualities?
qualities?
Yeah, that you look for in an intern.
I think perhaps let me try first. One of the, because different family office owners might have different appetites towards their candidates. As I said, if for those single family office with functionality, one person have to pretend, wear several hats to on one hand, to do the bookkeeping, investment strategy, as well as done everything to soften out the issue with different kinship. Then I think that will be multitask will be the best, or one of the best. And the interpersonal skills, I think, is also important because there's always a an issue, like even if it's a banks or MNC or different companies, there's some politics. So consider now it's come to a family office background. You have to also interact with the owner as well as different kindship, different descendants or different vested interest person. Then you have to know about how to interact with different guys, different persons. So I think interpersonal skills is very important. And then the third element, perhaps I just name three, and then I'll let Jessica and Fran to help me up. I guess the third one is to keep on the because on this area is very mysterious. You don't know much. Sometimes you will not be given much information before you being assigned a task. If as far as I know about some families, sometimes they will set up some special tasks let that gatekeeper to do it this way. So if you're not a self-driven person, you don't know how to relocate. I mean to locate the resources we needed, then you will find it hard to interact with the families. So maybe yeah, pass on to you.
I think for the candidates, I suggest that you must be quick learners and work efficiency and work productively. And also, if you have some professional skill, that's actually definitely is a plus. Like not only from the finance, but also like legal, tax, and also MIS backgrounds. Because nowadays the family office challenge is that we are not lack of information. So we have too much information.
Yes, true.
So all of the, taking like my company as example, we deal with so many private banks, 30 private banks, 10 investment banks every day with a lot of information coming from the sales side. So how you actually consolidate information and screen the information and also give us right suggestion, analysis, all the information is actually quite critical for some of the family office. So perhaps I'll add some more points like this.
I'd agree with Jim and Grant. I think they've done a great job of summarizing the key piece. One thing I would add that while this is true of many businesses, I think it is particularly important when working in a family office business is common sense and the ability to be discreet. You are working in a multi or single family office business. You are going to come in contact with sensitive, confidential information. Many families are very sensitive to how their information is known and shared. And so for anyone coming to work for us, we have to have a high degree of confidence that you can follow terms and guidelines around client confidentiality and discretion, and even within family members. So even within a family, not necessarily every member of the family has access to all of the family's information. So being sensitive to how information is used and shared is really critical.
Yeah, that's a very good advice. Yeah, confidentiality and trust. I have another question from the floor. It's more investment related. What factors will you consider when choosing a fund for a family office? That's probably an open-ended question. So I guess depends on what type of family office.
Apparently, much of the aspect that we can investigate or analyze this question, perhaps I think the most important one that while we discuss with our families, we know about the expectation objective, like the returns as well as the duration of such a investment. Of course, when it comes to a fund, I think the question just mentioned fund. It doesn't mention about how long the duration is. So due to the fact that families might have their different usage of the cash flow, so we better know about all these kind of elements before we can study it. And then another angle we have to consider is the perspective, like the asset class of that fund as well. In particular, some of our family clients we serve, they have a mandate that they won't involve in some particular area in terms of some industry. They won't join. So no matter how much or attractive the return is, we're not going to invest in that area. So that is some angle I can offer to the students about the question on how would you view a fund, when it comes to the decision to invest.
Yeah, actually, Jessica, I have a question for you because I meant to ask you earlier. But that is, do you see any major differences between US and Asian family office? Because you're very a lot of US clients that many of us in Hong Kong don't have that opportunity.
I would say there's certainly more similarities than there are differences. For US families or families with US connections, one of the driving factors that we do see that is typically less of an issue for Asian families is tax. So and not only tax from a sense of managing how much tax you pay and where it's paid and how to effectively minimize tax liabilities, but also tax compliance. So for Americans, beyond actually paying the tax, there are significant complex rules around disclosure. It doesn't necessarily involve paying tax, but there can be significant penalties for US taxpayers who fail to properly disclose certain investments and holdings. So that tax compliance is a big driver. I would also say that while I've seen more recently that the Asian families that we work with, estate planning, legacy planning, trust planning is more recently an important part of their planning. That is less of a priority often in my experience for Asian families versus American families. And again, I think there's a strong tax driver behind that, but there is typically no superstition or no resistance to talking about death and to talking about wills and trusts and planning for the next generation. And there are some cultural differences there that make those conversations with Asian families structured in a different way.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm still getting a lot of questions. I've got this one also very interesting. May I know about the qualities that are required by family office and private bank? Are they the same? Is there any additional quality or criteria that differentiate them? Anyone wants to take this? Grant, you
Want to?
Yeah.
We probably all should answer this one because I think it's a different perspective.
Yes.
First and foremost, the fiduciary, the fit and proper, the ability to be licensed, competent investments, those core pieces are going to be the same. I would think to echo some of what Jim said earlier, and this has sometimes been a challenge for us in hiring people who have spent most of their career in a bank. In many cases, they are in a role where they have been very narrow and deep. And so they are an expert in one area, but they have not had the experience of multitasking. They have not had the experience of having to cover multiple asset classes, multiple different types of clients. Typically in a family office, while there are a variety of roles, the most successful candidates and employees that we have had have the ability to willingly and with energy and enthusiasm do a variety of different things. Sometimes they are administrative in nature. It is not all glamorous, but they are focused on whatever the family member needs. And in my experience, that's often quite different when we work with candidates who spent a long time in banking where the role is often much less diverse.
Yeah, so it's actually, you need to be very all-rounded. Yeah. So, okay, I have got another technical question, but I'm not sure I fully understand the question. I'll try to read it out first. So what type of investment structure is offered to low-income families? I guess family not requiring that. Maybe the student can further expand on the question. But I guess in a rising interest rate environment, that probably might have wider implication to the investment strategies that you guys look at. And then there's lost track. Actually, I also have one very important question we need to ask, because actually someone mentioned that earlier in the question, but it's more in personal. So but basically going back to the program, it's 8 weeks, so it's very generous. So is the timing fixed, or is there any flexibility for someone enrolling earlier because of other commitments in summer?
I think for us, this is the first time through the FOAHK to running the internship program. So definitely, I think we can have some flexibility. So for students, first time to hear about these programs. But I will say that you won't regret for participate like a family office programs because given I think our shop as examples during the 8 weeks, you will not only have the functions and the special project or task. But also we will give you some on-site visit opportunity to those like financial institutions, private bank, investment banks, And also, we will also on-site visit to our fintech company, which actually co-work with us, and also some of the fintech companies, academic, through some of there's a lot of research and the white papers talk about family office. So we will have some pre-readings, articles, and everything before you actually join the internship programs. And the more that we also discussed was like a tapas or some of our members that we can exchange some of our internship. Because different family office actually run their different focus. Like Leo was mentioned, they run a lot of like DPMs, definitely tapas run a lot of like algorithm tradings. So you can learn more from other family offices, which is actually really important for family office. This is the nature of family office. They want to have a holistic view of the whole asset class, bankable and non-bankable, but also what other people doing, family office doing. So this is actually quite critical.
This is really a wonderful scheme. Thanks again to FOA Hong Kong for offering this. I've got another good question. So what's the biggest challenge in working in family office, or what is one aspect that you wish is better when working in a family office? What's the biggest challenge for us in working in a family office?
Maybe I go first.
Okay.
Perhaps the biggest challenge nowadays, perhaps it's keep on, changing the topic, but nowadays I think it's talent. It's hard to take the appropriate talent. On one hand, we're mentioning talent is should be strong in academics, but on the other hand, got much hands-on experience with the family office stuff, which is hard to find in town or in Asia. Yeah, so I think we will have to gradually catch up with the pace, and then also we should do more with this kind to let more of the students know about the awareness of the family office. So yeah.
I would add we find often that the service providers are not necessarily up to speed with how family offices serve their clients. So we find that we're often educating banks, investment service providers, trust companies to the needs of our clients and how family offices work. So I think that has improved dramatically, I would say, over the last 5 years, but there is still a lot of evolution for service providers to understand the family office ecosystem better and be better prepared to support the needs of those clients.
I think for like digitalizations, innovation, technology adoptions, because as I say, that every financial institution talking about fintech, they have a lot of information about how we actually engage APIs, how the information can exchanges, how can actually cross the information so we can provide a better experience for our clients. This is actually the things I mentioned earlier, but actually this is something critical and is ongoing, need to develop.
A lot of good question. This one actually shows that the student has understood what he's asked, or he's asking Ryan. Could you suggest how you would handle different opinions with family members when making investment decisions? Yes, tough one. What if family members disagree?
That's why we need family office. The family office, the traditional the concept is that we can have a group of professionals coming from different areas and have a neutral recommendations for the family members or the group of family members. So this is sometimes because people always say, oh, when we set up family office, we can bring our next generation or the generation. But think about it, you have a lot of offspring, so you have a lot of kids, and who's going to make the decision, how they're going to make the decisions. So normally they have an independent board for as a professional join the family office to help to make the decisions, not only investment.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Jessica mentioned that fiduciary.
Yeah, I would
Yes.
add that I think one of the most important roles of a family office is to help families agree on a governance structure. So to the extent there is a disagreement or about how to choose an investment, the family should already have a process, because that's inevitable. We know there will be disagreements among family members. One of the most important things we can help families do is to pre-agree how disputes of any kind are handled and what their governance framework is, what their board looks like, how does an investment decision get made, who has the final say, what's the process. helping families build that is a critical part of what a family office does.
Yes. Okay, because we're running out of time, but I want to ask of you one very quick question. So a quick answer I also need. What's the outlook for the family office industry in Hong Kong? Starting with my far left.
Maybe the outlook.
Outlook.
For family office industry, the outlook.
Basically, just one word: thriving. Yeah. I just simply use one word to describe the industry. Yeah, it's going to thrive. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Very confident.
Any comment or advice?
Just short answer.
Outlook for family office?
I think we see the family office from the numbers. Okay, we are talking about family office because I think technology changes. Now it's all from bite-sized point of view or tailor-made solutions for all of the family requirements. Just like Jessica said, we are coming from the user point of view to develop the platforms or the solutions. So think about this every day. So you watch Netflix, using less than Spotify. It's all about tailor-made. So of course, the financial industries, this should be a tailor-made solution for our clients. This is a key important thing.
Yeah, I would say the outlook is very strong. I think as an organization, I think FOAHK is incredibly excited about the growth of the industry in Hong Kong, and the outlook is very positive.
And I think Hong Kong is definitely a good place to run a family office. We have strong in capital markets, so we have strong in ecosystems. It's a different place to naturally create a lot of family offices and then leverage all the resources as ecosystems.
So the only thing we're going to do is to bring the awareness of family office existence.
Yeah,
Have resources
absolutely
go to this area.
Because as you all mentioned earlier, it is not a highly public sector, because as you say, a lot of the clients probably want to keep a low profile, right? So I hope through this webinar, our students have now a much better understanding of what family office and the industry is about. We still have a couple of minutes. Let me ask one more question, because probably in the mind of the student, they haven't really raised it. Hong Kong is up against all headwinds, right? So we probably are asking the same question, but Hong Kong as a super connector, do you see that as our sort of winning formula? Do you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah, and you don't think geopolitics will have anything will affect the outlook?
I think there are enough strengths that Hong Kong brings that, despite inevitable geopolitical challenges or other issues, that Hong Kong is going to remain very strong in the family office space.
Yeah, I agree with Jessica. Is because Hong Kong's system is not only built one day, and given our resilience as well, robustness, we're going to just simply again all odds and then can go through this tough recent geopolitical issues.
I think this is also one of the reasons why we want to form the Family Office Association Hong Kong's, because we are close to all the family members, family office members. We want to give you the feedbacks, everything straight away. So I think this is an ongoing. Hong Kong is a financial hub for 100 years already. So this is we want to have this kind of feedback directly from the family office.
Yeah. Excellent. So we're going to conclude this webinar soon, but I want to highlight again what our speakers have been saying. Really, the family office industry is very exciting, very interesting. The internship program is a very generous scheme. So you get 8 weeks of training, and you also have opportunity to be rotated between firms. And you get a lot of exposure, because normally a typical internship program will be 4 weeks. So you take a few days to get familiarized with the new environment, and then but in this case you really have 8 solid weeks of training. So one more question. How many quota do you have? Because I'm sure after this you have a lot of applicants. So, and how does the selection process work in general?
To be honest, I think each of our firms or founding members, we do have the limit quotas for the internship programs. But this time we want to communicate with our members, all the family office association members. And I believe that some single family office or multi-family office do have the requirements regarding to develop the talent programs and so or some young talents or to recruitments. So I think we hope that we can maximize the capacities and vacancies for our interest candidates.
I want to also say the office. Students, you get well compensated for the 8 weeks of work. So before we close the webinar, so please do stay behind to answer a few very quick polling questions. We would love to hear from you, how we can do a better job next time. Thank you.